Hey gang, and welcome back to another installment of Design to Move. My name is Ryan Maxwell. Today we're going to be targeting your piriformis muscle. This is one of your lateral rotators of your femur. It's responsible for rotating the hip outward or the leg outward. It helps to abduct the leg away and to help extend the leg. Oftentimes these muscles become tight because of imbalances in our gait cycle or our inability to control our body laterally using our lateral sling system. So today we're going to show you how to release the pressure in this muscle, how to help engage or strengthen your inner thigh or adductor muscle group, how to integrate it into a functional balance position, and then how to functionally strengthen it in a lateral plane of motion. All you're gonna need is a lacrosse ball to get the job done. And if you have questions, again, you can always reach out to us at admin@fluidhealthandfitness.com. Let's jump right into it. This is a self-myofascial release of the piriformis using a lacrosse ball. All right, gang, so the piriformis can be tight. Recall that it attaches the trochanter, the outer lateral portion of your femur, over to your sacrum or your lower portion of your spine. There's a little pocket there, and that's where that ball is going to reside. Know that the piriformis resides underneath your superficial gluteal muscle, the glute max, so we're going to want to stretch that by rotating the ankle of the leg that we're going to target over the opposing leg. From there, you're going to place the ball in that little pocket, draw the leg up into the chest, shift your weight to the side, and begin your release. Let's get started. The piriformis originates at the sacrum of the spine and attaches to the trochanter of the hip. It lies deep under the glute max muscle and runs parallel to the glute medius. In order to get to the muscle, you're going to need to flatten out the glute max like a pancake so you can use the pressure from the lacrosse ball to go beyond the glute and target the trigger points. By drawing your leg into a figure 4 position, as it's highlighted here, you'll accomplish just that. After you've positioned the ball on top of the adhesion or pressure point for about 30 seconds, you can begin the active release portion of the motion by bracing the ball closer to the sacrum, identifying the ridge of the adhesion, then actively pull your leg internally, making sure to pivot the kneecap inward towards the midline of the body. Breathe out as you release. Complete the motion 5 to 10 times, then reapply pressure on the trigger point. Okay, let's move forward. This is a neuromuscular stretch of the piriformis muscle using just body weight. Okay, so we've just inhibited the muscle by targeting that trigger point. Now we're going to want to lengthen it and get more range of motion and more extensibility out of the muscle. So in order to do that, recall we have to do the exact opposite of the muscle action. This is a lateral rotator, an abductor, it brings the leg away from the midline of the body, and an extensor, it brings the leg behind you. So on my right leg, I'm going to brace the leg underneath of me and draw my weight behind me, bending at the hip in deflection. We'll get down on all fours. Notice that I'm drawing the leg to the midline of the body and medially rotating the hip in towards the center. I'm anchoring my pelvis by not allowing my back to sway in the lower back and the lumbar portion, and I'm sitting my hip over laterally to the side. That puts us into the fixed position to get started. Let's get right into it. Since the muscle originates on the lower portion of the spine called the sacrum, in order to achieve an optimal stretch, you'll want to make sure that the area remains centered so as to anchor the muscle sufficiently. Make a note not to rotate your spine as you shift your weight to the side of the body being stretched. Pressure for the stretch will be applied at the insertion or trochanter of the femur by bringing the leg in closer to the chest and midline of the body. In order to take advantage of the neuromuscular release, you'll want to flex the muscle isometrically by bracing the knee into the ground, trying to replicate the act of lifting the leg to the side and behind you. Since the leg is in traction, the movement will be very small. Once you've held the flexion of the muscle for 7 seconds, it takes 2 seconds to relax the muscle, then go back into the original stretch profile and see if you can achieve a greater range of motion. You can repeat this cycle 3 times. Okay, let's wrap it up and move on to strengthening. This is an isolated strength position targeting the adductor complex, doing a side-lying adductor roll. Okay, so we're going to lay side-lying to target the inner thigh muscles that are responsible for medial rotation of the femur. This is going to help contradict the pressure from the piriformis that we just released. So laying on the right side, You're going to brace your head in your arm, supporting the neck first, and complete a hollow body position by flexing through your obliques. From there, drape the left leg over the right leg, extending the knee behind you or straightening the leg, and have the foot be dorsiflexed on the right side. From there, we're going to lift the leg up, internally rotating the femur or the lower leg portion of the leg up to the ceiling, and then rotate it back down. That puts us into the position. Let's get started. The muscles used to complete this movement include the groin muscles along with the glute minimus and medius. They contribute to drawing the leg towards the center of the body, along with rotating the thigh bone medially. Often, there's an asymmetric distribution of weight to one side of the body as we walk. This causes muscles on one side to overcompensate and to tighten up, including the piriformis muscle, which we just released. This can lead to misalignment in the joint motion concerning the hips and predispose the medial rotators on one side of the body to underwork. Today we're going to show you how to strengthen both sides. However, be aware that this may be a one-sided issue. Regaining the natural strength relationships in the muscles around the pelvis will establish the correct movement profile to stabilize and transmit forces through the hips. Let's move forward. This is an integrated strength position targeting the stabilizers of the femur using a single leg balance. Okay guys, so now that we've released the piriformis and turned on or activated the adductors, we want to put it into a functional movement. It's going to challenge your balance. So we're going to go into a single leg balance. Now we're going to challenge your balance or threshold of balance by putting the weight down till you feel your weight when it distributes to the side, hip wants to rotate back or forward, the knee wants to rotate out or in. Everything should be in a neutral position. Once we've found that balance position, you're going to lift the opposing leg up and out to the side, shifting your weight and trying to maintain that fixed alignment while holding your balance. It's a 2-second extension with a 2-second retraction. We're going to do this for a minute. Let's get right to it. The focus for this exercise should be placed on the maintenance of the pelvic alignment in a neutral position. This means that the height of the hip bones on the front of the body should be parallel to the floor throughout the entire movement. Your secondary focus should be on keeping the knee from rotating inward or even outward. As you fatigue, you will notice that you shift your center of mass away from your heel and towards your toe box or toes. If this occurs, reduce the depth of the balance and redistribute your weight. If you have trouble maintaining your balance while extending the elevated leg laterally, reduce the intensity by sliding the foot on the ground to provide a better base of support. Your focus should be on maintaining the correct joint positioning, not how far you can extend the leg. Okay, let's move on to the last exercise on this side of the body. This is a functional strength movement targeting your lateral sling system, doing a lateral lunge. Okay, so we've released the piriformis, we've activated your adductors, we've put it into a balanced position. Now we want to strengthen the muscles that help to stabilize the femur and the pelvis with a lateral lunge. So we're going to step our body over. As we step across, we're going to stack our joints so that our ankle, knee, and hip all line up on the same plane, and we're going to distribute the load or translate the weight over, making note to keep the opposite leg in full extension. As we do that, you're going to rotate your arm behind you on the same right leg. Arm in front of you is going to protract and the chin is going to tuck. Come back up to your base support and then do it again. Let's get started. As you step over, try your best to allow your non-working leg to extend at the ankle, knee, and hip. Those with tight groin or adductor muscles often can be seen with knees that buckle in on that leg. This places the knee in a very vulnerable position. If the range of motion isn't available for you, reduce your range of motion and keep your lateral step more shallow. As you sink, try to maintain a fixed, upright posture. At the bottom of the lunge, the working leg should resemble what it would look like in a squat, only that the opposite leg is just extended out to the side. The ankle, knee, and hip should stack on top of each other on the working leg. This controlled lateral absorption of load with the right joint placement will go a long way in establishing lateral sling strength and functional movement efficiency. That wraps up this side of the body. Let's move on to the next. This is an active self-myofascial release of the piriformis using a lacrosse ball. Okay, so now we're going to switch our gears to the left side of the body. The ball is going to be under that little pocket between the trochanter, outer lateral femoral hip bone, over to the sacrum. So we're going to place the ball there, sit down on the ground. Make sure to drape the left leg across so as to lengthen the glutes. Place the ball under the hip. Brace back on your legs. You're going to tip the weight over into the side, and that begins our release. Let's get started. This region of the hip can be quite painful for some, especially if you exercise or move in a lateral movement profile a lot. Skating, rollerblading, and cross-country skiing are examples of this kind of movement. You may want to start off with a foam roller and work your way up to a lacrosse ball due to which the pounds per square inch would significantly drop. After you complete the active release portion, you should feel a noticeable change in the pressure on the muscle. This tension release should allow you to press deeper into the fiber of the piriformis to achieve a greater extensibility in the muscle. Reducing the tension and increasing the length relationships of the piriformis will aid the muscle in recovering and getting stronger. This will help the hips and lower back to regain its stability and control. All right, let's get rolling. This is a neuromuscular stretch of the piriformis using just body weight. Okay, so now we've just released the piriformis by finding that trigger point and getting it to let go. Now we want to get more extensibility out of the muscle through that neuromuscular stretch. So remember that the leg abducts, or the piriformis abducts the leg away, and it laterally rotates. So we want to do the exact opposite of that action. So we're going to get into a figure 4 position, almost into a pigeon, as you would call it in yoga, so that the leg is internally rotated and in a flexed position. I'm not going to let my pelvis sway out. I'm going to brace my hips by engaging my core. This sets us up into the position. Let's get started. Stretching the muscle requires that you complete the opposite action of what the flexion of the muscle would be. Since the piriformis laterally rotates the thigh bone or femur, you'll want to rotate the leg inward when applying the stretch. Adjusting the foot under the body can help to accomplish this. Tight or spasm piriformis muscles can impact the natural gait cycle by reducing the mobility of the hips. This reduced mobility easily can lead to lower back stress and pain. Also, the piriformis is segmented closely to the sciatica nerve, and when shortened or in a spasm state, it can lead to sciatica pain or tingling down the leg. Relieving the tension in these muscles can go a long way in restoring your natural gait function and alignment of the lumbopelvic hip system. All right, let's move on to strength. This is an isolated strength position targeting the adductor complex on the left side of the body using a side-lying adductor roll. Okay, so we've just released the piriformis, we've lengthened it. Now we want to target the muscles that do the exact opposite action, which is internal rotation of the femur. So we're going to lay on the left side of the body. One more time, we want to brace the head, make sure that it's supported so that the tip of your nose is right in line with your breastbone. Hollow out your body by flexing your obliques and drape your right leg over the left. From there, extend the knee or straighten the knee on the left side, flex your toes into your shin, lift the leg up, internally rotate the kneecap up to the ceiling, and then let it come back down slowly, just making sure that you rotate through the femur. Let's get into the position. Maintain a neutral position in the pelvis by engaging the lower spinal flexors or abdominals and brace your hips under slightly. As you draw the leg off the ground, make sure to rotate from the thigh bone or femur instead of originating the movement from the ankle. This will place a greater emphasis on the medial rotators of the femur. You will see this as your kneecap rotating upwards towards the ceiling. At the same time, try to extend the leg gently behind the body to focus on the posterior activation. Balanced relationships in the medial and lateral rotators of the femur will help to stabilize the legs at the ankles and knees, preventing many of the common injury cycles that present themselves in these areas. Okay, let's put this into motion. This is an integrated strength movement targeting the stabilizers of the femur using a single leg balance reach. Okay, so now we've just released the piriformis, we've activated the internal rotators, the adductors. Now we want to integrate this into a balanced position to help it upregulate to our central nervous system. So we're going to put our weight back into our heel on our left leg, sitting back into our hip, stacking our joints so that the ankle, knee, and hip all line up on each other. From there, we're going to extend the right leg behind into the side and then bring it up to the center back to a braced position. Let's go ahead and get started. By incorporating all of the four targeted areas into a balanced position, this will aid your body in establishing the optimal muscle contraction patterns to stabilize and transmit forces when challenged by everyday activities. By practicing these movements in a safe and controlled environment, we can imprint the neural pattern into our central nervous system. As you complete this video over time and your strength increases, try to continue to challenge your threshold for balance by increasing your range of motion and going lower into the position. Just make sure that you maintain a fixed and neutral alignment in the hips, knees, and ankle the entire time. Okay, last exercise, let's move on. This is a functional strength movement targeting the lateral sling system of the body using just body weight in a lateral lunge. Okay, so now that we've released the piriformis, turned on the adductors, and put it into a balanced position, we want to strengthen the same muscles that stabilize the femur in a movement profile. So now we're going to step over into our left leg, decelerating that lateral momentum using our inner thighs, our glutes, and our obliques. As you absorb that kinetic energy, there's going to be a stretch on the opposing leg, drive off the heel, and come up to your neutral position. Let's get started. As you step over, try to be mindful of how your foot strikes the ground. Often individuals with muscular distortion problems in the lower body have a tendency to overly pronate or rotate the foot outward in an attempt to create greater stability of the lower extremities. If this is you, try to step into your heel and keep your toes pointed forward or slightly out while allowing your knee to track with the second toe. Your center of mass should shift and be absorbed through the lateral compartment of your hip, almost like you're sitting back into a chair, but only on one side of the pelvis. Since you don't just move in front to back motions, it's important to incorporate lateral plane of movement motion to increase our functional strength. Maintaining the appropriate alignment in the joints while moving in these planes will increase the strength and efficiency of the muscles involved and lead to greater performance and dynamic stability. That wraps it up. Alright, that brings us to the end of another installment of Design to Move. This time we focused on the piriformis. This muscle is responsible for lateral rotation of the femur and abduction and extension. Oftentimes our gait or the way that we walk puts us into a position where we sway too excessively from one side to the next. That places our muscles in a predisposition towards being overused, the piriformis being one of them. So it's important that we learn how to release and lengthen them and use the rotators of the femur in the right way so that when we walk, the movement radiates up through our spine in the right order. If you have questions, reach out to us at admin@fluidhealthandfitness.com. Remember, your body was designed to move, so stay in motion and we'll see you for the next installment.